The media world aflame over Steve Bannon's sudden departure from the White House. Joining us now is Gina Loudon, host of America Trends with Dr. Gina on the U2 America Network, and a member of the President's Media Advisory Council. So you've known Steve Bannon a long time. You're friends. You're allies. What do you make of the way much of the mainstream media has covered him getting squeezed out of the White House? Were there a lot of high fives over that?
I think that there's a story out there that the media isn't being very forthright about, and that is the real reason why they don't like Steve Bannon. They didn't like Steve Bannon before there was Breitbart. They didn't like Steve Bannon before there was President Trump. They don't like Steve Bannon because he was there on the ground with Andrew Breitbart at the birth of citizen journalism, Howie, which is what has completely undermined and discredited so much of the old media. That's why they hated Steve Bannon going back a long time. So then you add to that the fact that he joined forces with the swamp drainer who threatens to dismantle media as we know it, right? President Trump. And of course, then it was just a war.
Well, certainly this is a two-way war because Bannon has made absolutely clear that he has a great disdain for what he calls the opposition party. He has, when he was at Breitbart, when he was in the White House, and I'm sure at Breitbart again, he will speak out against the mainstream media. But are you suggesting that this is purely ideological, that the lack of, or the wariness of Bannon, or the opposition to Bannon, whatever you want to call it, is because they don't like him personally? Is it because they don't like what he stands for? Is it because the entire media is populated by liberals? Which is it?
Well, I mean, Steve Bannon wouldn't be Steve Bannon if the media did their job honestly. Think about that for a second, because citizen journalism is what rose up and took over. Now you have these massive websites like Breitbart and others that were really essentially started with the Tea Party, being frustrated with the fact that their narrative never got out into mainstream media. And that was what created Steve Bannon. That's what created Breitbart. Others with, you know, massive appeal now on social media that are really essentially citizen journalists. I mean, that's the movement that began to make old media crumble, and so they resent him on two levels.
So you're saying even with the old line conservative media, there was still a void for the kind of, you know, he would say populist, sometimes cultural warrior views that Steve Bannon is identified with?
Yeah, and I mean, back in the day when you had, you know, your essential newspapers that everybody read, and you had your alphabet soup network news, right? People like me and people like Steve Bannon and Andrew Breitbart, I remember sitting around a table with them, Howie, and talking about how is it that we could start a citizens movement where we just took our phones and went to meetings and did what the media wouldn't do, covered what the media wouldn't cover, and how could we get that out there?
It's certainly gotten
That's
bigger.
What they resent.
Right. Let me move on more broadly to Charlottesville. Mika Brzezinski, the liberal co-host of Morning Joe on MSNBC, has put the tweet up. With his own words, Trump has created a permissive climate for violence. The blood and carnage will be on his hands, #shame. What do you make of that? The blood and carnage will be on his hands.
Wow. I'm just wondering if at any point the media will try to regather some level of credibility by calling people like her out who are not ever calling out the left. I mean, we had police officers killed this week. Where's the outrage? Where is the cry from the media for someone from the left, some leader from the left to say this is bad, this is wrong?
Well, this is a hot button for me, the whole blood on your hands thing, because I think I criticized it when those on the right did it to President Obama. I mean, some police officer would be shot somewhere. They say, well, he has blood on his hands because he didn't sufficiently support the police. We can debate that. You know, I think the people who should be blamed for violence, politicians should be held accountable for the record for their rhetoric, but the people who should be blamed for violence are the people who carry it out. Now, look, the coverage, we talked about this in an earlier segment, President over Charlottesville, overwhelmingly negative, but, and I know you're kind of a surrogate for the White House, when you have critical statements from other Republicans, when you have business leaders resigning from these advisory councils, which have since been abandoned, when you have President and the First Lady saying they're not going to participate in the Kennedy Center honors because of kind of criticism from some of the entertainment figures, it hasn't been a good week for the President. Is that all the media's fault?
It is, because, you know, they didn't cover a lot of the great things this week that I think people who are sitting back on Main Street, Howie, really do care about. You know, look at how the economy has flourished under this president. That is a colorblind issue. It has nothing to do with race. The media has put race front and center this week rather than putting the accomplishments of this administration.
Okay, I take your point about other issues. But
and then giving him a chance to advance those.
But when you say the media's put race front and center, I mean, when you have these corporate titans who the president had invited onto his own advisory boards, resigning in protest, and we have certain Republicans speaking out. The media didn't create that. It is our job to cover it, is it not?
I think that the media can cover it, but the media has no balance, and you and I know this. They don't cover the amazing things that the president has done. They didn't cover really any of his initiatives this week. There was barely any mention of North Korea. Remember a week ago when they were saying, oh, he's going to put us in World War III. That was trending all over Twitter. Where's the media's coverage that, oh my gosh, guess what? The president's approach worked. North Korea actually backed down. Why is the media not covering it? Why? Because they want to dehumanize this president, because they want to delegitimize the right, because they want to work against his agenda. The American people are onto this, Howie. They see it, and they're going to demand better from their media. And if they can't get it from the mainstream media, they're going to get it from alternative sources, and that's what's happening.
That's a pretty sweeping indictment. Media do sometimes have a tendency only to be able to chew gum and cover one story at a time. Gina Loudon, thank you for a feisty appearance. Great to see you here in Washington.
Great to see you as well.